Hey everyone, this is Robert from goldsilverpros.com, and I wanted to do a real quick video on the coronavirus. The reason being is the coronavirus looks a lot scarier than I originally thought it was going to be, and that the official government numbers from China said it were. And the reason we're figuring that out is some alternative information is coming out outside of the Chinese government about the coronavirus, and it looks a lot more scary than we originally thought. So originally they were comparing coronavirus to SARS and saying that the death rates were a lot lower. They were in the 1 to 2% range instead of the 5 to 6% range or 8 to 9% range, and that the numbers of infected were much smaller. But then information started coming out about how many people were being quarantined and what was happening to the Chinese economy. And then we've seen some alternative statistics come out from different places from people studying the spread of this contagion since its inception. So I wanted to jump right into that. It's going to be a relatively short video. I haven't done a video for this site in a very long time. I'm not really video centered other than the interviews that I do with various experts in the gold and silver industry and other commentators as well. But I felt so strongly about this I didn't feel like a regular article would do it justice, and a video probably would convey more information. So let's dive right in. Here's a study about the original infection rates of the coronavirus in a hospital. It basically states that 41% of people infected in the hospital got it in the hospital, meaning that it gets transmitted very easily even in a clean environment like a hospital. So you can imagine what the transmission rates would be outside of the hospital. You don't have the medical professionals and you don't have the sanitation procedures that you have in the hospital. And this is different than originally put forth by the Chinese authorities, that once they got people quarantined into the hospitals, the infection rate really slowed down. But there's 41% infection rate out of the 138 hospitalized patients at the Zhonghan Hospital of Wuhan University, China. So that's something to keep into perspective as we go through some of the rest of this data. Here's an alternative study on the rate of spread. It's published in The Lancet, but the original study is here if you want to open it, the PDF, 2 megabytes. It's by 3 researchers at the University of Hong Kong, and it's put out through the World Health Organization. And the findings are really interesting because we see that the numbers were 75,000 people were infected with the virus as of January 25th. Let me actually download the PDF because it's a little bit easier to read and find those numbers. But the study here was saying as of January 25th, the researchers at Hong Kong University had shown that there should be, based on the spread rates, 75,000 people infected with the virus, where the official government numbers were a little bit different. The official government numbers as of February 2nd from Tencent's website, Tencent is a media outlet in China, were 14,000 infected and 304 dead. Zero Hedge has this article out showing that Tencent website had mistakenly, or supposedly mistakenly, had printed 154,000 people infected and 24,000 people dead, but that later on that day the numbers were corrected to 14,000 and 304. And that this had happened 3 times previously on Tencent's website. So the question is the Chinese government trying to restrict the actual information getting out? Now remember the date of February 2nd. Officially saying 14,000, previously had said 154,000. The findings were in this World Health Collaborating Center for Infectious Disease and Epidemiology and Control, School of Public Health, University of Hong Kong. 3 researchers, Joseph Wu, Kathy Luong, and Gabriel Luong, said that in our baseline scenarios, we estimated that the productive number for it was 2 to the 68, and that 75,815 individuals would be infected. This is as of January 25th, but the official government numbers on February 2nd were only 14,000 infected and 304 dead, but we know that Tencent had actually reported 154,023. So if you're looking at February 2nd and you see 14,446 or 154,023, and you see the World Health Organization study saying the previous rates of spread would have had it at 75,000, which number is actually correct? So it looks like the government may be influencing the local media in China and printing a wrong number. And these are the numbers that most of the U.S. media is going off of, the officially reported numbers. But it looks like it had slipped, and the unofficial real numbers had come out, and it was closer to 154,000. And this is, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 days ago. So we may be in the 200,000 people infected, and who knows how many dead. Maybe it's 50,000. We have different sources reporting on that. I have seen in the news where 400 million people plus have been quarantined in China. To put that in perspective, that's the entire population of the U.S. and Canada and a little bit of Mexico thrown in. That would be a big chunk of North America. That's how many cities and people within those cities have been quarantined due to that. One other interesting part of this World Health Organization study is showing the outbound air travel and train travel from Wuhan. So the yellow is outbound air travel possible from Wuhan. Here's the domestic, the red, outbound air travel, and the blue is the domestic train outbound travel. So you basically could get to most other provinces of China, and then from there, from all these spots, where could you have gotten to in the world from Wuhan? So 2 steps out of Wuhan, you probably could have got to most of the established world pretty quickly within 3 to 4 to 5 hops, right? So it wouldn't have taken that long for this to spread. And if we look at the transmission rates from the study about how fast this is spreading, 75,000, and then Zero Hedge catching Tencent reporting 154,000, that the numbers are probably much higher than China's putting out. What's the effect of that? Well, in the Telegraph, Ambrose Evans Pritchard has written that as of this week, and I read this story last week, so this is printed on February 6th, this is a few days ago. So as of last week, 2/3 of the Chinese economy remains shut. More than 80% of its manufacturing industry is closed, rising to 90% for exporters. 2/3 of the largest manufacturing economy in the world has shut down, and 90% of exports are shut down in that country. China overall makes up 17% of the entire global economy. Imagine the impact to the global economy if 2/3 of that 17% is shut down and 90% of the exports to the other 83% is shut down. What would be the reverberations to the economy if this were to last for any length of time? Now, officially, in a lot of the American media, we're seeing the impact of 1% drag on the world economy for this year. But if 2/3 of the manufacturing capacity of a country that has 17% of the global GDP is shut down for any length of time, is 1% effect on global economy really a realistic number? No, it's probably much higher. And what happens is this starts to spread to Europe, if this starts to spread to other parts of Asia, this starts to spread to the Western world, how much of manufacturing and world trade would be shut down? The implications of this virus a month from now, 2 months from 3 months from now, if they cannot contain the spread, are that it could very, very seriously affect the world economy and very, very seriously affect the ability of us to remain in a bull market as we see by other numbers like the stock numbers. Now, I've been advocating basically since 2018 that the world has gone into a recession, started to go into a recession. The U.S. would go into a recession either by last year or this year. I think we're on track for that. Now you have the coronavirus as this black swan that nobody saw coming back then. We were just looking at debt numbers and we were looking at trade numbers. Now you add in the coronavirus, slowing down the world economy. That's going to have a big effect. How's that going to affect the world? Are we going to slide into an even deeper recession? Are we going to hit it faster? What's going to happen? Don't know. That's why it's a black swan. This article is reporting that the doors remain closed to 2,000 Starbucks, hundreds of McDonald's restaurants, and 130 Uniqlo shops, and all 30 IKEA stores in China. I have read also that Apple, all of its manufacturing centers in China had shut down. So that means nothing was coming out of China for Apple. So there may be a shortage potentially of Apple devices and Apple phones. Also last week, on February 2nd, we saw that China to pump 150 billion yuan into the economy to deal with the coronavirus outbreak. Also, I think the Trump administration just came out. I saw an article in the financial media today. I think it was CNBC, if I remember correctly, reported the Trump administration said that the trade deal that they just signed and delivered with China would be impacted and delayed because of the coronavirus. So we've got the trade deal impacted. We've got manufacturing across the world shut down. We've got manufacturers not getting their goods. We have the government, in all likelihood, not telling the truth about the spread and the amount of deaths of the coronavirus. We have alternative studies from credible leading sources like the World Health Organization and the University of Hong Kong questioning the official story. We've got information showing that maybe the numbers being provided by the official media are being censored by the state, or through some other means are being censored, that the numbers are a lot worse. And we look at the map and we see that, this thing could spread very, very quickly within a couple of hops. We don't know, at the end of the day, we don't know what the impact of this is going to be. What we do know is that this is developing into a real crisis and that it's legitimately affecting the world economy. And these are the type of black swan events that could set off a recession in the U.S. when you've already got a worldwide recession going on and potentially launch us into the depression. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that is definitely a concern. This is why you want to get your financial house in order. I've said this a million times and lectured on this. I apologize to everybody. This is my big soapbox. Get out of debt, pay down bills, only buy what you need to, save in cash. At least 6 months worth of cash is what I do. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you what to do. I've saved 6 months of cash, and I've tried to get it as much out of the banking system as is feasible and put in a safe place that I can get to within 30 minutes of my house if I need it. And I've got gold and silver stored in vaults, a couple of different jurisdictions around the world in case I need to get to that. I keep a little bit kind of close to home if I need to get to it within 30 minutes, but a lot of it's stored in safe vaults. So you've got the cash, I've got the gold and silver. I've tried to knock down my bills. I've tried to pay off as much debt as possible, try to get myself financially lean, because you never know what's going to happen to the world economy. Will coronavirus be the catalyst that nobody talked about that sparks the recession that we've been talking about and I've written about 10 years ago, and that's already started in the world in 2018? I don't know, but this could be a black swan event, and that's why I wanted to make this video and talk to you guys about that. This could be what kicks it off, or it could just be another contributing factor. But you never know what's gonna cause the financial collapse to happen, what's gonna be that sort of ground zero event, what's gonna do it. This could be it. I'm starting to worry about it because the numbers coming out, the official numbers aren't correct. Studies are showing it's a lot worse. Some people are leaking data maybe accidentally that it's a lot worse than the authorities are saying. And when you look at the way that it could spread across the world within a couple of hops, meaning a couple of weeks, and you add in that the visible symptoms of this do not occur until 14 days incubation period after it's contracted, and who knows what parts of the world have been affected. We won't know for the next couple of months how bad this is really going to be. It looks worse than SARS right now. It looks worse than any recent virus outbreak in recent history in terms of its ability to spread, its ability potentially to kill, and its ability to affect the world in a way that we didn't expect. So Black Swan, we don't know. We're going to keep an eye on it. But definitely, wanted to bring you guys this information in case you hadn't seen the non-official numbers and some of the information coming out about how bad this likely is. 400 million plus people quarantined. In China, I read another article recently, another 50 million people were going to be quarantined. It may be, by the time I'm done talking to you about this and you're seeing this video, it could be up to 600-700 million people in China quarantined. We don't know about quarantines around the rest of the world. We do know there are cases in the US, we do know there are cases in London, we do know there are cases in Europe. Who knows where else? Will they be able to contain it? We also know from this study it spreads even in a hospital in clean zones where people are being diagnosed and are being quarantined. So this thing apparently spreads very, very easily, and apparently it kills a lot more people than the Chinese government is letting on, if we believe that 24,000 number as of February 2nd, which again is over a week ago. Anyway, wanted to update you guys with this. Stay safe as always. Think about your financial future, what you need to do. This is definitely a hot topic. Wanted to address it in a video. Until next time, thank you. This is Rob, Gold Silver Pros.